going on, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean7904 if you want to get all technical. I mean, it's 5:30 on the East Coast, 2:30 on the West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time, which, of course, is time for the flagship show here at RotoGrinders. It's called Grinderslive. It's a Monday. It's a three-man booth. We're not messing around. Batting first, leading off, from such things as NASCAR and the morning grind. It's Stevie TPFL. What's up, Stevie?
What's up, Dean? Hello, human. Glad you're doing well, my friend.
I saw your child pre-show, and that's what I said. I don't know what to say to somebody who's zero. I don't. Is that inappropriate or?
Hello, child. Yeah, that's good.
I think I said hello, child, then I said hello, adult. When somebody else when an adult popped in. I do communications for a living apparently, but yeah, dude. Baseball's going down today. Of course, I don't think you're playing much basketball these days, but it's going absolutely nuts in the basketball streets. Boban was unleashed. DeAndre Ayton was in, he was out, he was in, he was out, and then he was in because of a COVID thing. Actually, I just talked to Kirk Dees about this. Kirk Dees, how's basketball going for you? Because actually, you were telling me pre-show, you're the only person on Yahoo that had Boban, who, again, was unleashed.
Yeah, so I don't want to jinx it because something will go wrong with some news will break while I'm doing this and not paying attention or whatnot. But, yeah, I was the only one to play Boban on Yahoo. I only played Yahoo today because the news started getting crazy, plus I thought there would be some crazy news coming, and I had to get ready for baseball and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to play the easy side for me, and so worked out well.
You're playing Yahoo or baseball tonight, I presume, right?
I am.
There's some weird prices on Yahoo tonight. I'm sure you saw them. JD Martinez is like $13. Who else? So first baseman for the Mets. Why am I drawing a blank? Pete Alonso's like $11. I'm telling you those like you don't know. Bellinger's like 17 or like 15. And it's a Coors game, but yeah, Yahoo, there's some really, really cheap, really good players. You've noticed, I imagine.
Yeah, it's the what have you done for me lately algorithm pricing, except wait, let's see it. Let's see if that's true. Did they price Yelich up?
$17 on Yelich.
Yep, he got a boost. Okay, because he was 14 yesterday.
That's still too cheap, though.
Yeah, in theory, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, in theory, yeah, you could point to the scoreboard in baseball. The best player in the world can go for 5 or 4 line drives or whatever. The wrong person, but yeah. And you don't believe in jinx, by the way. You mentioned jinxes. Come on, you're not a jinx guy, are you? You don't have that power.
It all depends if I'm winning or I'm losing. To be honest with you,
are you the guy that has a certain seat and if things are going well, you have to stay in that seat, and otherwise you got to get your mug if things aren't going well?
Yes, I am.
You're that guy?
I just have to be in the zone and things affect that, and so yes, I've been known to wear the same T-shirt, lucky shirt, and things like that.
Boxers? Should I say boxers?
No, I don't know how to keep track of which ones are lucky. I don't pay attention to that.
You got to put the day on them. I don't Monday.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
I should. Instead of the name, the mom sent to camp with the name. This is your Monday.
You know who is wearing his boxers today is Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. Of course.
Well, I'm sure he changed those boxers probably.
He was very excited earlier today for 2 reasons. One, the Washington Nationals are not home; they're on the road. What a disaster that was yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I was playing FanDuel that had the early Washington game, and that game got rained out because they could not figure out how to put a tarp on the field. And, of course, it's Washington because that place is just a disaster. And Jose Juan Barea, JJ Barea went nuts in the other game as well, too. So hopefully Roth is set up for some good basketball bucks these days. And also he'll be on, later on, he'll be on Crunch Time with one Dave Potts. The kids call him Cheese is Good, 2-time millionaire winner. Take you guys all up to lock if you guys are premier members here at RotoGrinders. We do want to get on our sharp side pick. We're going to drop the link there in chat right now. What's up, chat? Feel free to like and subscribe. We do appreciate that. It helps with the old algorithm. Hit up the sharp side. If you get up to 5 winners in a row on FanDuel, you start winning some FanDuel bucks. But 5 winners, start a streak up to 5. You get yourself some FanDuel dollars. We've been picking some winners here and there. I guess it's a relative success. My pick is Kirk Gibson. No, he's not playing baseball anymore. Kyle Gibson. No relation to my knowledge. Over 5.5 strikeouts. I believe Devin's going to throw a picture up on the screen for the Sharp Side app. You're actually getting juice on it. I think it's plus 110. We have not seen the Seattle lineup, at least as of 12 minutes ago or so. Maybe we do, but spoiler alert, it's not going to be good. There's going to be a lot of guys that strike out a good bit. So I have the over on Kyle Gibson. Strikeouts at 5.5. Again, you're getting juice too. Stevie, who is your Sharp Side winner tonight?
I got the over in the Giants-Houston game at 9. So I think that game's going to have a lot of runs. Not liking what I've seen from Lance McCullers so far this season. And I think it's a game that, Houston's in a great spot against Logan Webb. So I took the over in that game.
All right. Your thoughts on that, Kirk Dees, as far as the over in San Fran Houston at 9, and what's your answer? What do you have as far as the sharp side winner?
Mine is I'm going to stay with a theme here that Stevie is. He knows that I mentioned on the last show is that soft throwers against Oakland don't fare too well, and the A's. So I'm going to take the Oakland A's on the money line as a favorite. Wasn't the greatest value as far as closing line value from like the different sites and whatnot, but I'm just pretty confident that they're going to win this game against Tehran, who's hovering about 89 miles per hour on his four-seam in his first little time that he pitched the season. So that's my play. Oakland A's.
Yeah, and it's got to be minus 140 or better. You can't pick the Dodgers minus 210. That would not count for your sharp side total. That would be cheating. Speaking of the Astros and Stevie's pick. All right, let's talk about the slate. Give me the screenshot, Kirk Dees. It feels like I think it's a bat winning slate as opposed to an arm winning slate. We'll talk about the arms in a second. You kind of sort of just want our survivors. A couple guys that have some upside, but no real elite studs. How are we looking at this slate?
Yeah, but it's interesting. So that immediately makes me think about potentially wanting to play more Patrick Corbin when you say that, because, I mean, these bats aren't guaranteed across the slate by any means. Coors can go off. Coors is a massive run total. Robbie Reyes looked horrible. John Gray gave up a home run to Brandon Belt. Still stings. But these are also two guys that, can miss bats. And so there is the potential for failure there. And so maybe from a GPP standpoint, pitching is the way to go, but the mid-range is kind of stacked. I love you've already alluded to Kyle Gibson. I love Kyle Gibson. We can get into that later when we talk pitchers, but so it's not hard to like use McCullers, Gibson, or maybe like Dustin May and kind of get, a bunch of whatever stacks you want. You can get on, obviously Arizona is priced way too cheap. So I guess that's the synopsis is what do we do with Arizona? Do we eat all the ownership or do we try to beat it?
That's DK specific, Stevie. At least that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. FanDuel, you can make it work too because it's just not that hard to build good lineups over there. Stevie, your take as far as the screenshot, and yeah, your thoughts as far as stacks, and is Arizona stack way too chalky on DK specifically anywhere? Because that's kind of the way it's looking at the, you hit up the optimizers, and of course optimizer in baseball, it's kind of a weird term because, the worst player in baseball could be the highest scorer on any given day. It's different than any other sport. Well, maybe other sports I'm not aware of. I don't know how that works in NASCAR. You tell me. But Stevie, how are we attacking this slate? And are you in on the chalk for Arizona on DK? Are you out?
Yeah, the Arizona lineup looks really good too. Like on paper, John Gray, we've seen his fastball fall off a ton this season compared to last season, the season before that. Strikeout rates at like 10% or something like that, and now he's in Coors, and Arizona's too cheap. So, like if you're looking at it on paper without looking at ownership, Arizona's the best play on the slate, but you have to factor in ownership. So I think you take a stand either way. You like go super overweight on Arizona or you go underweight. I don't think you fade them unless you're playing like a single entry and you're only playing one team and you just want to, play the game theory game. But like if you're playing three teams, you're probably making one or three. If you're playing a 20 entry max, you're probably playing them, a little bit or overweight. So I don't think I'm fading Arizona here. The spot's too good. But overall, I think there's like 4 or 5 teams on this slate that, can break the slate. Like Kurt already said, Oakland. Nobody's going to be playing Oakland. I love the Dodgers today. That Houston-San Francisco game, the Giants are more expensive than Arizona. So nobody's going to play the Giants against McCullers, the same price as playing Arizona. So there's definitely ways to be different. And there's like 3 or 4 like really good pitchers, and then there's like 2 or 3 guys that could pitch well but not like dominate. So like there's just a ton of different ways to be different on this slate.
Stevie, the most expensive pitcher is Patrick Corbin taking on the Mets. It's going to be hot there for what it's worth. 10.4K on DK specifically, 28.8% K percent. This Mets lineup they're rolling out today, 21.3% striking out collectively, especially at the top. They're pretty contact heavy. Rosario, Davis, and McNeil striking out 18%, and 12.9%. Then, of course, Alonso, a lot of power, but he can strike out a bit too at 31.1%. Stevie, are we paying up for Corbin, 2-pitcher slate? I think you can make it work with Corbin and Gibson. That's something that I'm looking at right now because there's a lot of cheap. The variance in prices on DK, like there's 2K guys and there's 6.5K guys. all over the place. You can make that work if you wanted to. Is Corbin somebody you're in on, Stevie, or somebody not so much where you're just going to pass?
I think there's 3 pitchers on the slate that you target if you want like upside strikeouts: Corbin, Gibson, and May. Like those are the 3 guys that, like, if you're going to target strikeouts, you go out and get those 3 guys. So yes, I like Corbin. I like Gibson. I think it's really easy in cash games to fit both of those guys in. We have Rios is in the lineup for the Dodgers. He's like 2.7K. Like a lot of cheap options that to easily make this combo work in cash games. In tournaments, I love Dustin May. So Corbin's in a great spot. I highlighted this game in my stacks today for GPPs on Lineup HQ because if you look at Weather Edge, I'll pull it up really quick for the screen share. But you look at Weather Edge, like we're looking at a hot day in New York, plus 22% on home runs, almost 12% overall for runs scored in general. So scares me a little bit on a guy like Corbin who gives up a bunch of home runs, but I still think like he's one of the best options on the slate.
I'll say this about Rios, batting 8th at home for the Dodgers, a chance he gets the hook if the moment sort of matters for LA. Of course, their bench is pretty solid, and if the game's still close and tight and the lefty-righty thing warrants it, it feels like a big opportunity cost is a sort of if I have an issue there with it. I get it as far as a salary saver, super cheap, but Christian Walker at first base, third base especially, he's first and third eligible. Of course, we'll break down the positions in a second. Eduardo Escobar is probably the first guy you put in cash games on DK. Of course, you want Arenado, but you can only play 1 third baseman, and Escobar is almost like half the price. So again, some opportunity cost here, but in tournaments, absolutely by all means, no issue. Corbin, what are you doing with Corbin there, Kirkties?
So Corbin's had a lot of success versus the Mets in general. He's got a high strikeout rate. I look back like 6-7 games. It was something like 30.9% to the Mets batters that he's faced. What's interesting to me is that, coming into the season, he has the best strikeout pitch in baseball by a swinging strike rate percentage, his slider, which was hovering at around 27.6%. Now, interesting enough, guess who has the second next best pitch for strikeouts in baseball?
I was going to go ahead.
From a qualified starter.
I was going to say Hater.
Dustin May.
He's pitching on the slate tonight, and it's not May.
You said qualified starter?
Yep.
It's McCullers curveball?
It's Gibson, believe it or not. It's Gibson's slider. He's just under Corbin. So there was a lot of talk in the offseason about revamping his pitch mix, putting more emphasis on that slider, and we've seen some good results. His strike is I don't think we've seen massive increase, but we've seen about a 5% increase in his K percentage so far. So I like both of these guys. So I'm on board. I'm going to try to get my lineups to be able to fit both of them together and try to take advantage of some value bats. But I do hear you with the Weather Edge. It is a little bit scary, and and when it's hot and sweaty, things can go south in a hurry. But I just see him K'ing a lot of these Mets with his slider tonight.
Yeah, so about the chat over there at YouTube has mentioned this, and Britt mentioned this to me before we went on air. Kirkies, how concerned are we? The roof is open in Texas today. Does that? I mean, we're not going to not play Gibson, but there's somewhat of a hesitation. That's not ideal, but these Mariners still strike out a ton. There's still not a lot of power there. The price is pretty good. Gibson threw 109 pitches his last time out. There's really not a lot of other options we can consider. We'll talk about in a second some pivots, but I'm still fine with it. Not ideal. I'd prefer it closed, but, what's your take there as far as the roof there in Texas with Gibson?
Yeah, it's not ideal, but are these Seattle bats going to take advantage of it? You still got to hit the ball, and you still got to hit the ball hard. A lot of these guys, I mean, I'll tell you, the one guy who I constantly play, who I would have no problem playing even if I used Gibson in a lineup tonight, would be Austin Nola. Man, he is just the best catcher play that nobody plays on a nightly basis. I just keep going back to that guy. But I mean, I'd refer to Derek Carty on that one, see what he says and Roth. But obviously the heat is a concern. It's more of a pitcher's park now, as opposed to what it used to be, what we were all thinking Globe is like. But I'll still roll out Gibson.
All right, so I pulled up the lineup here. Do we have Seattle's lineup or not just yet? Pulled up not just yet, unfortunately. But again, we're expecting to see a lineup that strikes out collectively at 26.4% versus righties. That's a big number, especially if Moore and Lewis are at the top. They're big K guys as well. They're two contact guys. They have two guys under 20%, which is Crawford and Seager. Everybody else strikes out a good bit. Stevie, talk to me about Gibson. And then, we're speaking about roofs. We saw last time out for McCullers. He was cruising for 3 innings. They opened the roof on him in Arizona, and he gave up like 8 or 9 runs. He said after the game, like, it was distracting. It threw him off. He's like, it's not an excuse. But, like, some of those were just kind of like fly ball pop-ups, just kind of kept going. Of course, that's Arizona, dry heat, same sort of concept to some extent. You go from a roof to heat, changes some things to some extent. Let's talk about Gibson, then bring McCullers into the conversation.
Yeah, I think Kurt pretty much said everything we need to know about Gibson. And Nola might not even be in the lineup, and like that's the guy that like worries you. Vogelbach is a big power guy, but he strikes out at almost 40%. So Nola is a little banged up right now. He's been one of the best hitters in this lineup. So if he's not in the lineup dealing with that hand injury, it just gives a nice bump to Gibson even more. So, if you gotta, even with the roof open, you gotta put the ball in play, not to strike out, right? So still like Gibson a lot. As far as like McCullers goes, like I did a deep dive on McCullers today, just kind of going back and looking at like 2018 numbers and comparing it with like overlapping it with 2020 because he's coming back from injury. And like my biggest concern with him is his curveball is his out pitch. And when I was digging into like the graphs and looking at like fan graphs and like overlapping the data and stuff, he is leaving his curveball up so much more, and to me that's just a command thing. So like, could it change, and could he start throwing it down more in the zone and like really like getting outs? Yes, that's very possible. But like when I'm seeing like 30-40% like over the middle of the plate with a curveball, like you don't do that. Like as a pitcher, you don't do that. You want it down and away, you want it down and in. Like, so I'm going to pass on McCullers today. He's like the 3rd projected highest owned pitcher on this slate, and for me, like it's just, there's other options. Like I love Dustin May, so I don't have to play McCullers today. And I'm just hoping that like maybe we start to see him pitch better. Like you said, he was pitching better last time out, but he was leaving so many pitches over the middle of the plate. And we saw this a lot with him early in his career too. Your mic is muted, you rookie.
Unbelievable. We were throwing a perfect game, and then you mentioned something. Kurt D's changed his mug. That's what happened, and all of a sudden the perfect game gets thrown off the air. So Dustin May, let's talk about him, Stevie, because you mentioned him. I love the arm, love the talent, love the hair. You don't get any points for it, but it's pretty awesome. How many pitches will you get delegated? 60 his first time out, then 76, then 82. You're begging for 90. You're begging for like 6 innings. Doesn't mean he can't get there in 6 innings. Doesn't mean he can't strike out 9 or 10 guys in 6 innings. Maybe like you're just playing him in hopes like the chalk kind of implodes and May puts up 24, which is great, or 20, which is great. What are you doing with Dustin May? Because you kind of mentioned him a couple times, and how concerned are you with his pitch count? Because, I want my guys to throw baseballs as long as possible.
I don't think really any Dodgers pitcher is going to throw more than 6 innings this year. Like, just for what it's worth. Like, unless they're lights out pitching, like he could be at 90 pitches or 80 pitches. Like the last time he was pitching great, and they like to use that bullpen for 3 innings. So I'm not really looking at that. I'm looking at this dude throws a 97-mile-an-hour sinker, and that is so hard to hit. And you look at the Padres' numbers against sinkers, and they're terrible against sinkers. So, like, give me 6 clean innings here at his price. It's not like he's 9K. So, like, we're not paying 9K for Dustin May. We're paying $7,700 for a guy that could throw 6 innings and get 8+ strikeouts and just mow through this lineup. Like, they're right-handed power bats. Tatis, Machado, Pham, they're terrible against sinkers. And this dude throws a sinker like 70% of the time against right-handed hitters. Like, he's touching 97 on the sinker. It's so hard to hit.
I would be careful saying Tatis is terrible at anything, just throwing it out there, because
Tatis is a beast. I'm just saying, like in this matchup, give me Dustin May over Tatis like 10 out of 10 times.
Tatis, speaking of those two pitchers, McCullers, May, do you prefer either one or the other? You kind of sprinkle them in tournaments. I think you just make like one lineup, and you're probably just going to play Corbin and Gibson and call it a day. But what are your thoughts?
I may play Dustin May. Stevie's absolutely right. this guy throws heat, serious heat. He's throwing 99 on his fastball. His sinker is up there too, like Stevie said. I mean, and he's young, right? He's got more. He's coming into his own. So we've looked at his minor league numbers in the past. Said, well, he looks like a strikeout pitcher, but he's not getting the strikeouts, But I think the strikeouts are coming, and they've already started to. I think he's got a 25% K percentage this season. Is that correct? Don't quote me on that. Somewhere like that. 26%, 5% walk rate, just a little bit higher there. So he got his 82 pitches last game. I mean, maybe there's room for 85, 90 pitches. I do think they'll be cautious like they always are, but I don't care. It's so hard to find anybody that's going to go really deep in a game these days. So, especially at this point in the season. So I just want efficient innings. And I think that this guy can provide them. I know the Padres have been extremely hot right now, but I do think that they're a little overvalued in general as a team, as a hitting team. I think Tatis is amazing. I think Grisham's okay. I think Machado is pretty good, and Pham is decent. But other than that, I'm not scared about any of that bottom of the lineup whatsoever. And I think he's going to rack up Ks. And so 7.7 K is a steal.
You know what helps a team get offense get hot? And this is a callback because the chat said, oh, you're picking on Mad Bum. Mad Bum is toast. Mad Bum is terrible. He got absolutely shellacked by San Diego. And now he's in the DL. What did they gave him a made-up injury, right? Come on. He's just a disaster.
I mean, there probably is something there. His arms. I mean, he was throwing like 88 miles an hour on his fastball.
Fell on his horse or something?
Wow. He just doesn't. He's just cooked. He's washed.
He's done. Terrible contract. What are you doing? And he only signed there to be closer to his horses. Whatever, not worth getting into. But yeah, I'm always hating on Mad Bum for good reason.
As far as McCullers goes, I don't know what's wrong. Looks
I don't either.
Everything was really high, and a lot of praise coming this season. He was going to be the ace over there. Really step up once Verlander went down, and man, he's been disappointing. But it wouldn't shock me if he turns it around and has a good outing, and it's in there, it's in him. He's got the pitch mixes. I know Stevie said there's some stuff with his curve that's a little troubling, but the velocity looks fine. I don't think it's an injury or anything. I think he's just hasn't settled in quite yet. So I think there's more risk there with McCullers, but he's someone I'm certainly considering, especially on Yahoo, where you have to consider him. He's priced really cheaply over there.
Yeah, but he is, but you also can get the really cheap good bats. I made a lot up before the show, and I think pretty sure I have Corbin and Gibson for what it's worth. But yeah, if you want to load up on all the good stuff, and even
you can play him and you can play McCullers, Gibson, and load up on anybody you want.
Yeah, but I played Gibson and Corbin, and I load up on everybody I wanted.
You just have to sacrifice one spot. It's like you have to put like one value play in, who's usually a good play.
Dallas Keuchel's an innings eater. I know last time out he had a bunch of Ks, but I would not expect that. 17.9% K rate last two seasons. This Detroit lineup does offer a fair bit of Ks, though, 25.7% if you want to get all specific and technical versus lefties in the last two seasons. So in theory, there's some upside. But again, he's just a ground ball specialist that eats up some innings. By the way, Steve, you're talking about breaking down some numbers. I imagine you pulled this up and kind of saw, but it's a small sample. Have you seen Randy Dobnak's numbers? I think he's the Uber driver, Dobnak. And he's got an amazing mustache too. So are you aware of Dobnak's numbers here, Stevie? How weird they are?
I don't know if you'd necessarily want to say they're weird. Like they're interesting. Like he's a sinker baller. Like all sinker ballers numbers are usually like weird. Like the dude gives up like his average exit velocity is like insanely high, but like he's not giving up any like home runs or anything. Like that's not unusual for a guy that throws a sinker.
43 innings, 17.8% K percent, 0.21 homers per nine, 3.8% homer to fly ball rate, a 58% ground ball rate, 19.8% fly ball rate. Like that's goofy to me, but like it's a small sample and it'll correct to some degree. But yeah, he's going to be a ground ball guy. Not going to be that super lucky when it comes to homer and the fly ball. They're asking in chat here, Stevie, May or Gibson in cash. I think May's really interesting in tournaments, but like Gibson could throw 25 more baseballs than him tonight. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be better. I like the matchup better too. I prefer Gibson in cash, May certainly in tournament. Your thoughts?
I would say Gibson too, just because like the Seattle lineup overall is going to be worse than the Padres lineup overall. So like that's the reason that I'd go Gibson in cash, but I will have more May than Gibson in tournaments though. So As far as like Keuchel and Dominic go, like they are the two guys that are like safer 15-point options. Like they're going to go out. They're not going to get rocked in these spots. They're going to go out and pitch well. But like they're not going to necessarily win you in tournament unless like some of these guys like May gets rocked or Gibson, like the roof open and the ball is flying or something. Like these guys aren't going to win you tournaments. Like I have one of my 3 teams had Keuchel on it this morning, but I'm still like debating like if I'm going to leave it or not. So I like Keuchel a little bit more than I like Dobnak, but I think they're both really the same pitcher. That's all.
Yeah, I think I'm just sticking to those 4 that we kind of covered. Corbin, let's see, not Dobnak. Hauser, you can play in tournaments. I'm probably not going to get there most likely. Gibson, McCullers, a sprinkle, and May, a sprinkle. What say you, Kirk Dees? And feel free to talk about anybody else. I know some optimals are saying you can play Steven Matz. I don't think I'm there. Yarbrough, I'm not going to get there. Fine pitcher, but like just it's not for me. I don't think I need it. What are your thoughts on anybody else we haven't mentioned yet? And those guys.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight core for me. It's Gibson, it's Corbin, it's May, it's possibly McCullers. If I really wanted to just play the GPP angle, it's Robbie Ray, where you just hope for that. It is all of a sudden the guy misses bats all night and has some command in him for once, but because he does have that strikeout upside, but and he's priced cheap. So I could see going for that GPPs. I don't have any interest in Keuchel. I just don't want a guy with an 87 mile per hour sinker as his main pitch. His main pitch is to get it done. You're just not going to get strikeouts. Dobnik, it doesn't feel like you're going to get strikeouts, although the Brewers are striking out a lot. I guess the last guy would be Hauser. That's it. And that's really thin. I'm probably not going to play any Hauser or Ray.
Yeah, he's another guy. I don't really know how deep he's going to go, but he can go 5 or 6 and strike out 6 or 7. That's certainly possible. Probably not going to get there. I'm not making enough lineups to understand why you would do that if you're running out 150. Stevie, summarize the arms and then open up catchers for us.
The only other name that I want to mention is Ryan Yarbrough. The Red Sox, as Kurt knows, they're striking out at a very high clip right now. It's been a rough season for our Red Sox. So, like, if you want to, like, if you're playing, like, a large field tournament, like the big 4 or 5, 6, whatever the big tournament is on both sites, like, if you're playing, like, a huge large field tournament that's very, like, top-heavy, I think FanDuel's, like, 100K to first and a 300K tournament. Like, maybe you take a shot at, like, 3% own Ryan Yarbrough. But overall, we like Corbin. We like Gibson. Dustin May for ceiling. Lance McCullers is a coin flip on whether or not he's going to be pitching more down in the zone with his breaking ball stuff. And Keuchel and Dominic are safer, not going to get blown up options on this slate.
Just see a tweet here. This is not baseball related, but apparently there's a leak in the roof in the bubble. The Bucks and Raptors supposed to play at 6:30. Giannis, FVV. That's Freddie Van Vliet for the uninformed.
This can't be real.
Serge Ibaka are out. Kyle Lowry might not play. Again, it's a 6:30 scheduled game for the record. And maybe there's other buildings, so I'm not really sure.
Where is this news coming from?
It was sent in a Slack that I'm in. It's coming from Joe Varden. I don't know if it's a tweet. Let me see if this is officially a person. Yeah, we have
been getting a lot of bad rainstorms
because we were making fun of this slate earlier in Discord, and we were talking about it's almost as bad as when there was the leaky roof in Philly. And that's funny that I guess there is a leaky roof now added to the slate. So
it's not even raining at Disney right now. Like, it's raining here, but it's not even raining at Disney right now. Dean, you're a professional host that does this 4 or 5 days a week. What are you doing? It's still muted.
Oh, no. Unbelievable. I thought you were saying, why am I passing along this information? I had the cough and I forgot to go back. I apologize.
Oh, man. What are we going to do with this guy?
That's at Joe Varden, for the record, by the way. 38,000 Twitter followers, and he is verified.
Yeah, okay.
And I think he may or may not be in the bubble. Go ahead and check that out for yourself.
All the 7s.
Stevie, yeah, you're right. I'm flustered. I'm officially flustered. I have lineups to change in basketball, baseball lineups to make. But talk about some catchers, Stevie. That's exciting.
No, catchers are never exciting. Who's the cheapest catcher that's available? Like, that's the guy I want. all joking aside, like I think if you want to pay up a catcher, I think Stephen Vogt might actually be like a lower owned Arizona play today just because he's so expensive compared to like guys on this team. But Yasmani Grandal, he's going to hit from both sides of the plate. So Daniel Norris and Michael Fulmer, like he's super interesting. James McCann's hitting down in the lineup. So like there's a good chance his first at bat is against Daniel Norris. So he's interesting, but really like catcher's a position today where I think you can just save some money. Like Yan Gomes is a guy that I'm using a bunch at 3.2K. Going up against Mats with the hotter weather in New York, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Oh man, it's Michael Perez is actually it's not Zanino, it's Michael Perez. I'm not a big fan of him. Zanino's cheaper, he's got more power. Of course, he strikes out a ton, but he's also a guy that can kind of like once he gets a hold of it, he can take it over the monster. Tony Walters is meh. Vote at 4.5K. Cannot get excited. Oh, Chadwick Trump, hard to get excited.
Wiki batting 6.
Yeah.
Ramos batting 6 against.
If that game is tight, though, Vasquez comes in for him for the record. But yeah, he's super cheap. All right, sell me on something here as far as catcher. It's gross, Kirkties.
I mean, Vogt is you want the home run, you go for Vogt. Although there's gonna be ownership there. Plawecki is the value play, and you can go to like Grandal or a little bit down further and get your lefty masher James McCann, who's gonna see should get some at bats against Daniel Norris, the lefty. Right? Did he make the line? Yeah, he's batting 7, 3.6K. It's Austin Nola, if he makes the lineup, is my guy. That's just the guy I'm going to keep playing. Even if I have Gibson in the lineup, I'll play Austin Nola.
I think the lineup came out. I think he's batting 5th.
All right, there it is. There's
I'm hitting the refresh button. Did Vogelbach crack it there, Stevie?
Yeah, batting 8th.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's interesting even to play against my pitcher. It's not ideal, not the best correlation, but he's cheap enough, especially on FanDuel where he's like 2.2 or 2.3. I don't hate the idea of rolling him out there to kind of save some salary as an upside guy. Speaking of first baseman, Stevie, open it up for us. Who are we playing at first?
A bunch of options at first base. You got Max Muncy, who you can play at first or second. Christian Walker is going to be like the chalk first baseman in cash games. Howie Kendrick is super cheap against Steven Matz. You got Brandon Belt. If you don't believe in McCullers, he's cheap, batting 4th. Cheaper option is like CJ Cron and Edwin Rios. I already mentioned Rios. You were talking about like being a little worried, and like we went on to something else. But like the thing is, like Perdomo might only go like 1, maybe 2 innings. So like when Rios comes up, it might be Quantrill, and like that's who you want anyway. So give me 2 at bats against Quantrill and Rios. Like, I feel like he's a guy that could get it done, but like Seager's still banged up. So like, I think the Dodgers are going to be less likely to pinch hit early. But like if he comes up in the 9th and they're in a position where it's like a lefty, that you lose on that situation. You might only get that 3 at bats, but he's really cheap. He's shown a ton of power since, getting called up last season. He has like a 415 ISO against righties. So I like Rios a lot, especially if you're looking to save some money and not really sacrificing a lot of upside.
Somebody in chat asked about the weather in Detroit. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in chat to you guys as far as Ross update. He updated this at 5:30 Eastern time, yellow-orange currently in Detroit. Of course, Ross gives the most up-to-date updates on Crunch Time, which starts at 6:30 Eastern for premium members. And he takes you guys all up to lock with Cheese is Good. Dave Potts, who's going to answer all your baseball-related questions. First base, Kirk Dees.
Yeah, Walker's the chalk in the cash play. Matt Olson is the best play on the slate tonight. Matt, he's going yard against Tehran, who has always struggled with left-handed batters, but also does not throw very hard. 4,700. I think people are going to kind of shy away from that price tag because they're just going to plug in Walker easily. G-Man Choi is 3,600, batting cleanup against this horrific starting and bullpen pitching of the Red Sox. So it's Brazier and then Colton Brewer, both guys. So he'll have the platoon advantage. Batting cleanup for 3,600 in Fenway. It's hot, really hot here in Boston right now. So I think the dew point is nice as well. I have to check my weather system, but anyways, Howie Kendrick is like going to be a low-owned GPP play. The guy just rakes. Pete Alonso is going to be a real low-owned against Patrick Corbin, but certainly could get a hold of one, right? Like, you're just home run hunting, or go to Coors.
Weather Edge, 97 games.
Sorry. Last guy I just want to throw out there, Jose Abreu. Nobody's going to play him at 5,200. He's going to get to see the lefty for a few bats at least. And this guy just crushes left-handed pitching throughout his entire career. A great home run candidate tonight.
I did want to mention that Weather Edge loves Boston in 97 similar games of similar weather. Nothing to do with who's pitching and who's hitting, but just actual weather base. That's it. 7.5% bump in homers, 14.8% bump in runs, 11.1% increase in ERA as well. You mentioned Choi, worth noting if people are not aware, he is now a switch hitter, so he might take aim at that monster if a lefty comes in. What do you have for me at the second base keystone position, Kirk Dees? Open it up for us.
Go over there. Okay, second base, Ketel Marte is the clear one guy you want to get in. He's the one Arizona bat you would probably want the most, I would think. It's going to be high owned, a little bit cheaper, not much pop, but a lot of speed. It's Garrett Hampson in the Coors game. Larry Garcia is leading off with Tim Anderson still on the shelf against this Detroit two pitchers that I definitely want to attack in a bullpen. I'd like to attack behind. I think the White Sox are going to score a lot of runs tonight. Brandon Lau, right? Guy's raking. He's been their best hitter so far this season, and he was crushed in last season as well. Batting second, 4,600, and then Danny
Any interest in Mendick?
You need to go.
Crane will be on.
Someone thought he was your favorite player, but
on the right night.
2,100. Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, this is how you can get the big bats so easily. On DK, they're so cheap, and I was talking about that. As far as the discrepancy of prices, the variance of prices, 2.1K. I know it's not an ideal stick, obviously, but 2.1K is 2.1K, and it's not, you're not rostering because you want them. You're rostering because the other guys you get because of them. Because hey, Stevie, we live in the world of a salary cap. Got to get that one in too. Cross that off the bingo card. Second base, Stevie. What do you have for me?
Muncy, Ketel Marte, obviously, I think are, guys that you're looking at. Solano, like I said, I think the Giants are an interesting, we're projecting, team ownership to be under 1% on the Giants. I like them more on FanDuel. It's a little bit easier to stack them on FanDuel, and they're really low owned over there as well. Like the Brandon Lau call. The guy that's coming in for the Red Sox that's pitching in this game, he has not shown really any ability. Colton,
Brewer.
I can't remember his last name.
Colin Brewer, I believe.
Brewer.
He's not shown any ability to miss left-handed bats. So like the lefties from the Rays, I think they're a really good stack today. Cheap wise though, you mentioned the White Sox, Garcia is 3.3K, and he's been one of the better hitters from both sides of the plate here for the White Sox. So I like Garcia, and Sterling Castro batting third against Steven Matz. He's super cheap across the industry. I'd rather play those guys than play Mendick, just because I think they offer a little bit more ceiling. But, Mendick batting eighth, 2.1K, I get it.
Yeah, got to give a shout out to the mouthwash as well. Jonathan Scope, 3.7K on DK. Historically pretty solid against lefties. Don't hate it. There's a lot of cheapies there at second. Plenty of places to stop short and save some salary. Even Brian Dozier once upon a time was a quote-unquote lefty master. Not so much these days, but he's 2.8K. And if the kids want to call that leverage, I suppose, against Patrick Corbin, I guess, sure, why not? We're hitting the third base. Stevie, start off for us.
Hold on. Gotta switch it. Obviously, third base, Nolan Arenado against Robbie Ray and Coors, sign me up as much as I can get. He's 6.3K. The Rockies are interesting because they're so expensive on this slate. We have their team ownership at around 12% right now. I think it actually might come in a little bit lower. I know I'm going to steal some thunder here from Kirk Dees, but Matt Chapman, I looked into what Kurt was talking about last time we did the show last week, and I love soft tossing pitchers against Oakland now, but Eduardo Escobar's the chalk. I guess I should have started with him. He's the chalk, under 4K, going up against Gray. If you are in that price range and you're looking for a pivot, J.D. Davis against Patrick Corbin. Corbin does give up home runs. It's hot, and J.D. Davis is going to be less than 5% owned when you have a guy that's probably going to be 30 to 40% owned in the same price range. So I really like JD Davis as like a tournament pivot off of Eduardo Escobar.
Steve, you're doing the screen share. I'm just pulling it up right now. If you're going to pull up the ownership here in Lineup HQ at RG, of course, the closer and closer we get to ownership, the more refined ownership. The closer we get to lock, the more refined ownership gets. Pretty interesting to see. Escobar is the most popular, according to our projections, at 25% on DK specifically. And that's the one that's most interesting, Kirk D's, right? Where Escobar is 3.7 and Arenado, who, if there's no salary cap, it's just raw points. And, you can pay these guys whatever you want. 6.3K is at, 17% owned at home versus a lefty. That's no secret. I guess Arenado, I don't want to say it's a sneaky tournament pivot because he's like the second most popular guy. And then there's some cheapies like Candelario at 8%. Yandy Diaz, is he leading off? Batting third today. I like him a good bit, too, a part of that Tampa team. What are your thoughts as far as how you're handling third base today?
Yeah, Escobar's the cash play. Arenado, if you can fit him. Upside, GPP, I like the White Sox a lot, so Moncada is right there for me. Other than that, it would be Matt Chapman would be my guy just because I'm so high in Oakland, like Stevie said. So those are kind of the guys I've been keying in on. Trying to see if there's any glaring value that's opened up or anything. But you said Candelario is. Diaz would be. Diaz absolutely could go yard 3,300 batting third. He's an awesome play.
He looks great in the uniform, if nothing else. He looks like he can absolutely annihilate the baseball, and he does sometimes on occasion. But again, it feels like there's a big opportunity cost at third, more so than some other positions. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to just get like a Danny Mendick or something like that and just hope like nobody goes nuts. Let's jump back to shortstop, Kirk D's. Open it up for us.
Well, if you want the highest projected guy, it's going to be Trevor Story for sure. 6,100. He and Arenado, that's the same. Pick your whoever you like there. They're both extremely similar plays, but you do have Garcia, who's cheap, like we said, leading off, been raking too as well for the White Sox. Expect him to score a lot of runs. Trey Turner is in the conversation, especially on Yahoo, where he's extremely cheap tonight. But he's someone that could run on Steven Matz very easily. This lineup is getting more potent tonight with Juan Soto back. Castro's been hitting. Josh Harrison has been hitting. It's just a better looking lineup tonight for the Nats. Let's see here. Marcus Semien, because I like Oakland. And then, Xander, just because of overall talent. But, man, it's been a struggle watching these Red Sox guys up at the plate. They just don't seem to care too much. It's tough sledding over here in Boston watching my Red Sox.
You and Stevie can mourn together. And you mentioned Max. The story always is, well, lefties, they hold on runners great. And that's generally true, but not always true. And Max in 2018 gave up 28 stolen bases. Now, he got better last year. Only yielded 9, but he's still vulnerable to it. It's like you can definitely run to the guy despite the fact he's left-handed. And just from a roster construction standpoint, just want to throw it out there. What I do is, like before the show, I use the bat stuff, and I plug it into Lineup HQ. I put a little bit of variance to it, like 15% or something like that. I cap each player 50%. And on DK, they're giving me 50%, the cap of Escobar, and just 17% of Arenado. And shortstop, lineup instructions tell me to play. This is where you spend up your Story. He gets the cap of 50%, and we step down to a guy like Laurie Garcia just because he's super cheap. Stevie, shortstop, what's to you?
Like if you're not paying up for Story or Turner, like you're paying down, right? Like I mentioned Garcia when we were talking about second base. He's super cheap at 3.3K, but I think for the most part, you want to pay up for those guys. I like the Astros a lot, and Carlos Correa has like a 1% projected ownership right now. So like I could see the Astros like overall ownership is pretty low, and like Logan Webb is semi-reverse splits too. So he's really struggled against righties since he got called up last season. So this is actually a really good spot with, Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, Correa, all those righties in that lineup that don't strike out a lot. I know Correa a little bit higher, but I think Houston's really interesting today as well.
Nobody's going to play Houston on a 9-game slate, and versus a pitcher, it's not very good. It is worth noting. That's very much worth pointing out. And as much as we disliked them 2 days ago, we like them even less after yesterday. Their chump, their hitting coach or whatever. What are we doing? We don't have time to get into it. We don't have time for a Boggs rant, but come on, man. All right, outfielders. Hey, Curtis, you know how you feel about Brandon Belt? And I kind of feel the same way. I feel that way about Cole Calhoun. I don't want to roster Cole Calhoun. But
no, Cole Calhoun is back.
The math is telling me I'm supposed to play Cole Calhoun, and I don't want to do it. I'm probably going to do it begrudgingly, but I don't want to. Just know that for the record.
He had like a 120 BABIP for the first week and a half of the season. It was eventually going to turn around.
He is back.
I haven't liked him the last 10 years or whatever it is. But so you guys are both playing. You guys are in on Cole.
Just homered off Lamet yesterday.
It was an inside the Parker. That doesn't count.
Then
it wasn't as bad as Yelitsin's, but still.
I'll play Cole. I've got no problem with that. He's just cheap. I made the mistake of fading Brandon Belt, although I still stand by it. But I think Cole Calhoun has more pop in him than Brandon Belt at this point. And leading off, extra at bats there, just a good situation. So it's a tough fade for me. Dare I say, JD Martinez against Yarborough?
He's looked. I hate the eye test, but he's looked terrible. He's looked
horrible. He lined out a couple yesterday. Didn't produce anything, but at least got some good contact. Mike Trout, he's pretty good.
He is good at baseball. He's kind of expensive, but yeah, he's definitely good at baseball. I can't argue with that.
The Dodgers are just too cheap for what they were priced for. Who were they priced paying? Garrett Richards, is it? Who is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Perdomo is and Quantrill is a boost for them. So the Dodgers are definitely in play. Those are guys I'm looking at. The Rays, I don't know. There's just so many good plays.
I am playing JD Martinez in Yahoo, where he's $11. By the way, I think he's 11. Yeah. It's just silly. I feel like I have to do it. Stevie, we got to be quick. Another name, another guy in that bucket that I don't like to play, but it's telling me to play Kevin Pillar. I don't want to play Kevin Pillar, but he's 3K on DK leading off, so maybe I will, begrudgingly. Give me some outfielders you like.
All the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks outfielders. Yaz is going to hit a home run. Trout's going to hit a home run. The Dodgers are coming in a lot lower ownership than I had thought they were going to. So, like those guys, Calhoun, he's your cash staple play. John Gray is not going to strike anybody out. But also, all three of the Texas outfielders, Gallo, Chu, and Willie Calhoun. Calhoun's batting in that third spot. We talked about the roof being open, and Dunn is really, really bad. He's not a good pitcher. So, I like the Texas outfielders. Kevin Pillar batting leadoff. He's been the one bright spot for the Red Sox this season. And he's 3K. If you are looking for a cheap option, Robbie Grossman, 2.4K against Tehran. Those would be the cheap options that I'd be looking at.
Loreno is playing for the record. He's in the lineup batting second. I thought he might get suspended. Maybe he's appealing it. I'm not really sure. Just pulled up the StatCat stuff on JD Martinez. The lowest EV he's had in the last 5 or 6 years, small sample size, 88 miles per hour. It's not terrible, but 91.3 last year, 93, 91 previous seasons. Kirk Dees, give me some stacks you like.
White Sox, love the White Sox tonight. They're just everyone's just going to be so fixated on cores. I love Oakland against Tehran and a bullpen that's extremely attackable. And Madden will make some bonehead decision, and they'll end up scoring a lot of runs. And then I also like the Rays a ton.
Chat, like, and subscribe. Much appreciate that. Those guys are premium members. Feel free to stick around. You got an updated update as far as the weather with Kevin Roth. Thank you guys all have to lock with Cheese is Good. Answer our questions from a baseball perspective. Stevie, give me your favorite stacks and somebody that's going to bang one out tonight.
Dodgers are going to break the slate, like the whole Coors game. Houston, Washington, and then if you're playing large field tournaments, the Giants again. Nobody's going to be playing the Giants today, and if McCullers is not on and he's leaving pitches over the plate, he's the guy. But my home run today is Edwin Rios for the Dodgers.
All right, we got to go. I have lineups to make for basketball. I got lineups for baseball as well. Wish everybody luck tonight. Feel free to smash it. Smash that like button, that is. He's Stevie. He's Kirk Dees. I'm 50% correct. Not exactly sure. 50-50 shot. You never know. I was definitely Dean, 100%. And this was 100% baseball. We're out of here. Holler.